Good afternoon, I'm KHOU 11 Meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are having a cloudy day, even though it seems like it's going to rain. We may even see that rain chance become just all the more isolated as we head into later this afternoon. Here's what to expect. Looking at a cloudy skies across downtown Houston, that tropical disturbance that we were tracking that was out east over Louisiana has weakened. That center of that low moved over land and therefore really not giving it time to strengthen into a tropical depression. So that rainfall mainly east of the Houston area, but those temps will be ramping up next week as we're going to have high pressure system built in, and that is going to cause those rain chances to be more slimmer, as well as always bringing in some dry conditions as well as humid and hot conditions. So for the rest of our afternoon, we could still see maybe a downpour or two as we get closer towards the 4 o'clock to 5 p.m. hour. So keep that in mind if you are traveling out and about, but temps a bit on the cooler side, all thanks to the cloud cover, but isolated downpours still in the picture as we head into this afternoon. But the good news in all of this is that we are expecting a mostly dry afternoon, even though we can't rule out maybe a shower or two. So for this weekend, high about 94, overnight lows in the 70s. We'll be mostly sunny by Sunday, topping out in the mid 90s by Sunday afternoon. So our flood wish for today, mostly areas from Livingston, Liberty, Baytown, Galveston, and still under that marginal risk for flooding. So we could still see some isolated pockets of some storms that could very well move from the coast inland. But looking at that system, no chance of development, zero chance of development for the next 2 days. This is not expected to become anything, as the center of that system is just over land and is causing most of the heavier rainfall northeast of Huntsville, out in East Texas. There's still some downpours that are just off towards the south of the Louisiana coast, but as we look at mostly the rain for our area, we're seeing some showers, very light showers in place from Livingston to Huntsville, but rain has been more isolated. We're starting to get into the afternoon hours, and that is really just showing that sea breeze frontal boundary is very well moving inland, so we could see some of those isolated downpours moving in towards Houston by this afternoon, so we still cannot rule out some possible showers for today. But the reason why that rain is fizzling out by the time it makes it to Houston is because we have a pocket of dry air that is in place. That is colliding with that tropical moisture that's to the east of us. So it's just zapping all those showers before they make it into Houston. And that's really the reason why we haven't really seen most of those heavier showers associated with this system. So looking at our future track for today, we could see an isolated downpour or two later on this afternoon. That could flare up. We're still keeping that daily rain chance in the picture as our atmosphere is just still slightly unstable, but by Saturday afternoon, we're still going to be tracking those downpours as well. So rain chances very well isolated, which is very good news for us as we are not dealing with a huge rainmaker from this tropical system that is well off towards the east of us. But then as we look at the next 7 days, we're going to have this pattern shift as with an area of high pressure. But also the good news is that no activity is expected through the next 7 days across the Atlantic basin. There is some Saharan dust, not really over us, but there's still a plume of that moving in over the Atlantic basin, Atlantic Ocean, and that is really keeping the tropics rather quiet for the time being. So as that pattern change is upon us for the next few days, we're going to have high pressure systems start building in closer towards Texas and closer towards Houston. That's going to drop those rain chances as well as cause those high temps to rise through the next few days. So if you are out and about, you're going to want to start practicing those heat safety measures by next week because we very well could see some highs in the 90s. And I'm going to show you the rain future cast as well. So it's still seeing some isolated showers for today and tomorrow, but for next week, you're able to see that high pressure system currently over southeast Texas. That's going to really keep that rain away from us. And so that's really just showing you what high pressure systems do when it comes to our weather pattern. We're also going to be tracking another little disturbance that's going to be out in the Gulf over Florida, sort of similar like we saw. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that system pretty closely as we head into Wednesday and Thursday of next week, because that could send some moisture our way as well. So we're going to be tracking more rain chances heading into the middle of next week by Thursday, Friday. A little bit too early to tell whether that system is going to be moving in towards us, but as we look at our future temps, it's going to soar into the upper 90s. Keep in mind the humidity still in full force here across Houston, keeping those high temps and those feels like temps in the hundreds. So definitely practice heat safety measures. Look before you lock. Wear light clothing if you are out and about. So expect those highs about 97, 98 by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Other locations across Texas, upper 90s in Austin, 97 in San Antonio, Eagle Pass 103. And the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal temperatures for a large portion of the country as we end July. So definitely expecting that hot outlook. Usually what we see here in the Houston area for July and as we head into August. So for your 7-day forecast, expect those highs to be in the 90s for this afternoon. Overnight lows in the 70s, 94 for a high on Saturday, but we are expecting mostly sunny skies by Sunday and into Monday that will keep conditions mostly just dry and sunny. We're just going to have to track that those rain chances that could move in by Thursday of this coming week. So just to kind of sum this all up for you and revisit what we've been talking about in case you're just now joining our extended live stream on KHOU 11 Plus. Keep in mind that we're tracking just mostly cloudy skies out there. It seems like it's going to rain, but most of those showers are remaining well to the north of us, and we have a layer of dry air that's currently in place that's just zapping those showers as they make their way closer towards Houston, even though we could still see some sea breeze showers and storms from the coast. So here's what to expect. That tropical disturbance that we've all were tracking the past few days, it has weakened. It's not expecting to become anything significant, but just showers and storms as the center of that system has moved inland over Louisiana. And so that rainfall mainly east and north of the Houston area. However, by next week, that pattern shift is going to cause those temps to rise as well as high pressure system start building in across our area. So looking at those rain chances today, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a downpour or two later on today. High temps a bit on the cooler side. We can thank the cloud cover for that, but you still might run into maybe a downpour or two as we head into those afternoon hours. So 93 for a high in Tomball, Jersey Village 92, 89 for a high in downtown Houston. But the humidity is going to still cause those feels-like temps to range between maybe 98 through 100 degrees. So as far as your weekend forecast, we're going to keep that rain chance in place for Saturday afternoon, getting up to 94, mostly sunny for Sunday. But then the humidity is just really what we're going to have to worry about. But going into looking at that flood risk today, I think that this map here is going to be really, we're not really going to see a flood risk because most of those showers are just really not significant. They've only received maybe close to 3 inches of rain out in East Texas, but that's really not too significant as that area hasn't received as much rain in the past few days. So no chance of development from that system that we were tracking that was moving in over Louisiana. Didn't form into a Category 2 hurricane like some of the social media posts on TikTok said, but we are definitely seeing really just calmer conditions as that system is just losing all sorts of energy. It really just didn't have enough strength. The ingredients weren't there for it to strengthen into a tropical depression. So definitely still tracking some showers that could move into Huntsville, maybe Livingston, Cleveland. But right now it's mostly dry, just very cloudy out there. And we still could see some of these downpours start flaring up from the coast, and they could start moving northward through the rest of this afternoon. And like I said, it's because we have some dry air that's currently in over portions of North Texas that's influencing our weather pattern and sort of just zapping out those showers and that tropical moisture as it makes its way closer towards our region of Texas. So looking at our future track, we can't rule out some downpours that could make their way into the Houston area later on this afternoon. It's going to be more isolated in nature. The same for Saturday. We're just going to have to worry about the heat if you're out there because it's going to start becoming more sunny as we head into later on this weekend. So as far as the tropics, the good news is that no activity expected through the next 7 days. It's going to be quiet out there. We're just going to have to really still keep a close eye on what's going to be happening in the tropics because we still also have some dust over the Atlantic. So be extra vigilant, be extra cautious on where you're getting your information from when it comes to hurricane season in the tropics because it's very common for one weather model to spit out a hurricane moving into the U.S. many days out. And so just keep in mind that pay attention to those resources that you get your information from because even though that models are showing that we could see another somewhat disturbed system maybe next week, keep in mind that we still have some Saharan dust that's currently in over the Atlantic and over the Gulf. So that could very well have an influence on how the end of next week plays out. high pressure system building in across Texas, across Houston for next week. That's going to cause that rain chances to drop. Also, it's going to cause those high temps to soar into the upper 90s. So we're going to have to be worrying about the heat, humidity for next week. I know that we've dealt with a pretty rainy summer, and the good news about the rain is that it's kept our temperatures cooler. Now we're not going to see that rain. Now you're going to see how hot it actually can get here in Houston if you are new to Houston. If you're accustomed to Houston, just keep in mind that we are definitely going to see that heat return by the end of next week for Wednesday and Thursday. And so the Climate Prediction Center is still calling for above normal temps. Our average high for this time of year, usually 95. Just keep in mind that we're forecasting upper 90s by the end of next week. So as far as your 7-day forecast, highs in the 90s, lows in the 70s. Tropical downpours, likely not for us going into this afternoon. Still can't rule out maybe an isolated shower or two or an isolated downpour making its way into the Houston area, but we'll keep an eye on those scattered storms for Saturday. And then we're going to have that stretch of dry weather through next week with highs in the 90s, lows in the 80s. And of course, make sure to tune in during our next newscast, which is going to be at 4 p.m. with, I believe, Chief Meteorologist David Paul. He'll be having the latest on our weather forecast and what we're tracking, especially out in the tropics. Of course, I'm Meteorologist Chris Ramirez. Have a great rest of your day.